Hello, I'm NP. Lately, I've been doing some sim racing again. Despite the high speed, it's quite a relaxing experience. Anyway, a couple of months ago, in Isle of Man TT, riding on the Edge 2, after having a quite nice result in its career championship using a nice light nimble 600cc Honda that belongs to the Supersport class. So I switched to a Superbike, having a significantly bigger engine and bigger weight. It means a package where your acceleration and top speed are higher, while turning and braking is much worse. I needed quite a long time to adopt, but finally I could run a quite nice lap with 130 miles per hour average speed. Then I put down this sim for months. I dusted it off recently, wondering, can I match my skittish Superbike time with a nimble but comfortable Supersport bike? Despite having quite an advantage in handling, the Supersport has a 100 brake horsepower deficit compared to Superbike. The Supersport goes around 130 and the Superbike goes around 230. The big bike is around 25 kilos heavier. On the paper it's not too much, but if you ride a little bit to the limit, it means a lot. So which one is the winner? The small bike with a very nice behavior but lower power, or the big bike with big engine, big power and big nervousness? Let's find out. So here you have it. The bigger is better. Despite that, it was a very nice run with the Supersport, with significantly less mistakes and nicer lines. I used my championship settings, all about acceleration and handling, not too much about top speed, versus the Superbike's more balanced setup that allowed the big bike to go a little bit above 200 miles per hour. The small Supersport clipped somewhere around 170 some. So despite that, the Supersport was as quick or quicker in the twisties, like Glen Helen or the section after Ginger Hole, where Peter Hickman crashed this year. So because of a lot of full throttle sections on the track, the more powerful Superbike just kept on chipping away. 35 seconds, that's a lot. As for the average speed, the Superbike was a tiny bit faster than 130 mph. The Supersport with 17 minutes and 55 seconds was like 126 mph on average. So a better run on a smaller bike is slower. I still hoped that I can catch the big bike, but I couldn't. Anyway, compared to the actual track records, I mean real life, with the big bike, Peter Hickman is 43 seconds faster than me in the sim. When it comes to the small Supersport bike, in the real life, Michael Dunlop is as fast with the Supersport as I was with the Superbike, a tiny bit faster than 130 mph on average. So here I'm 33 seconds behind. So in a Superbike I have 43 seconds of deficit versus the 33 seconds of deficit on the Supersport. My times are not record-breaking whatsoever, especially not in the game, where there are, I don't know, 35,325 guys who are faster than me. Still, this little test showed that, considering relative difference, I'm 10 seconds faster on the small bike. Well, it behaves so nice and forgiving. Because of the lower speed and better traction, for me it's a better experience than the big bike. The Superbike, as it seems, it's still a very long way to go for me. Well, at least in the game. In the reality, you know, it's, I don't know, 500cc and 50 brake horsepower is my limit. The exact bike that I had 20 years ago. A tiny 500cc, friendly and fun Honda. After trying a bigger, sportier bike that just didn't turn as well as my little bike, I realized that's my thing. 50 brake horsepower, small displacement engine, lighter bike, twisty roads and never going above 100 mph. Or because I'm in Europe, it's 160 kph. But not like anything this fast as in this game. But still, virtually riding these bikes made me think, maybe one day I should return to the saddle and get a small bike again. I started to regret that I sold my old bike. I sort of miss it. Maybe I should get another. Well, if it happens one day, maybe I will make a video about it. But until that, virtual TT in the sim. That's all for today. NP out. See you somewhere in time.